This is the final video in the series of videos about Access 2013 Unit A, in which we're going to be editing data and taking a look at the information on pages Access 16 and 17. Now, updating existing data in a database is another critical database task. Now, to change the contents of an existing record, you need to navigate to the field you want to change and type the new information in. You can delete unwanted data by clicking the field and using backspace or delete to delete text from the left or right of the insertion point. Now, other data entry keystrokes are summarized in Table A6. So we can take a look on Table A6 and we see that if we would press our backspace key, that will delete one character to the left of the insertion point. Our delete key is going to delete one character to the right of the insertion point. Our F2 key is the key that is going to switch us between edit and navigation modes. The escape key on there undoes the change to the current field. So if I would make any changes on here, let's say that I'll make a change here, I can just hit escape and notice that it undoes the change for that current field. Now if I hit escape, that's going to undo all changes to the current record. So if I made a whole bunch of changes on here, if I just hit escape, it's going to undo all my changes for my current field. F7 is going to start the spell check feature. And then finally, if you press your control plus the apostrophe on there, that's going to insert the value from the same field in the previous record into the current field. Or if you press the control and the semicolon key, that's going to insert the current date into a date field. So those are a few keyboard shortcuts that you can use on there. In step 1 on page Access 16 tells us that we want to double click the name or double click name in the first name field on the second record that's on there. So in my case here, I've got Waylon Fairchild on here. And I'm going to change this from Waylon, and I'm going to replace it with Kelsey. So I've changed this, and I'm going to press enter. That's going to take me to the next one, and I'm going to replace his name with Barker. And I'm going to press enter to go on to the next field, and the phone number is going to be 111-222-4444. And enter. And I'm going to update the birth date to 2/15 of 84. And I'm going to press enter. Now, when we do this, we've now changed the name, telephone number, and the birth date of the second customer. Now, when you enter the last two digits of the year value, Access will automatically insert the first two digits after you pressed enter. So you'll also change the third customer as well. So the ones that we haven't changed previously, we're going to have to change now. Those are the ones that we kind of came up with. You're going to keep your name on there, but we're going to change the two that we just made up. So in step 2, it tells us that we want to press enter, and that's going to move us to the first name field. And here we're going to type in the name Joshua, press enter. And that name is going to be Lang for the last name. Type enter, and the phone number is going to be 222-333-4444. And then, of course, once we have this, we realize that, hey, wait a minute, 222-333-44, that's an incorrect phone number. So if I press my escape key, that's going to take me back, and it removes the current field's editing changes, so that the phone number that we had originally is changed back to whatever it was previously. Now, if we would press the escape key twice, it removes all the changes to the current record. And of course, when you move to another record, Access will automatically save your edits. And when that happens, you can no longer use the escape key. So be careful when you're editing and moving up and down. Left and right is okay, and you can still use your escape key. But up and down, you lose the ability to use your escape key. That's on there. So when you move to a different record, you can no longer move to use the escape key to remove editing changes to the current record. However, you can click the undo button, which is up here in the quick access toolbar that's on there, to undo any changes to a previous record. And of course, that's our quick tip that's on there, that you can always click the undo button to display any action that you can undo. And of course, you can click on this little arrow and you can see that there's some any actions that we can undo for our current time period. In step 3, it tells us that we're going to rechange the phone number, and we're going to change this to 222-333-4444. So that number was correct after all. We're going to press enter, and we're going to change the birth date to 12/1/50. And then we're going to press enter. And of course, once we have that on there, we're going to click on the calendar icon that is there. So we're going to click back on where it says 12/1/1950. And of course, there's a calendar icon right here that we can click on that. So when we click on this, it's going to give us a calendar that we can actually choose from. So what we're going to do is that we're going to change this, and we're going to change it to April 14th of 1951. And to do this, we can click on the little arrows up here to switch to the different months. So we switch to April. We're going to April 14th, 1951, and that changes that there. Now, of course, when you're working in the birth date field, which has the date, time, data type, you can enter a date from the keyboard, or you can use that button that's there that's called the calendar picker, which actually utilizes a pop-up calendar to find and select the date on there. Now it's going to use the most recent dates, and you can go backwards. Now for years in the past, like for 1951, you probably want to go ahead and at least type in a general month, date, and year to go ahead and get you in the ballpark of where you want to be at. So if you know it's in January or April or May or wherever, you want to go ahead and type in the month and the year and just maybe the first day of the month. That way so you can choose the specific date a little bit later on. In step 4, it tells us that we want to click on the record selector for the last record. Now, of course, the record selector is this box that's over here to the left on here that's going to select the entire record for us, and it's this blank box that's over here. Once we have this, and we've selected the one for Oscar Lee, this is record number 6, we're going to click the delete button in the records group, and that's going to be on our home tab. So we should be on our home tab. And here's our records group, and we're going to click on the delete button. And when we click on that, on there, it may prompt you, do you want to delete it? You want to click on yes on there. If it doesn't, it's probably going to automatically do it, which in my case it didn't prompt me for that. On there, sometimes it will prompt you, sometimes it will not. You have to be very careful when clicking that delete on there. But notice one thing, that when you delete a record like this, the undo button has now been dimmed out, which indicates that we cannot use it. The customers table now has 5 records. Now, of course, keep in mind that your customer ID values may differ from the ones that you see that's on the screen right now, because those are all controlled by Access. So remember that when you select a record and you delete the record, it may send you a warning saying, are you sure you want to delete it? You can click on yes, but once you do it, that action is final and it cannot be undone. Finally, on there, we'll take a quick look. We're not going to print this on here, but if you were to print, you would go to the File tab, which is on here. Now, of course, once again, remember that everything's been saved that what we have been doing. If you were going to print, we would just click on the print here, and then, of course, we can go to the print preview, and this would show us what would come out of the printer that's on there. And of course, anytime you do print, you want to make sure that you do print preview that's on there. Now, in our case, we're not going to print this on here, so we want to go ahead and click on the close print preview that's on there, and then we want to go ahead and click on the close button up here, and we want to close our database that's there. Now, when you submit this, you do need to go back to your course sites, and you want to click on where it says Access a Walkthrough. Now, on the Quest Travel A, we really didn't do a whole lot to that. We just focused on that on the first page that was there. On there, that was on page 4, where we kind of took a look a little bit around. We opened up some things and took a look at it. To submit this walkthrough, what you have to do is you have to go through and you have to click on Browse My Computer. And you have to go to the location of where your file's at. In my case, it's on the desktop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find my file, which remember we named it as Quest on there. And of course here is my file. So I'm going to just double click that and add it there. And you'll see that here's the file name. You can leave the link title the same on there. If you want to add any comments, you can. And then all you have to do is click on Submit, and that will submit your file to me for grading. And of course that just shows you how to go through there and submit any of your databases for any of your assignments through that way. And that concludes the walkthrough and the video presentations for Access Unit A. You're ready to move on to the assignments, so take a look at course sites underneath the content area for your assignments.